Okay, so how you met her? You met her on OkCupid?
Wait, say it again?
You met her on OkCupid?
Yeah, OkCupid, and we went on a date. She walked up, and I was like, "Ugh, well, I got a question for you. I can cuss, right?
Of course.
Good, because I'm the
Oh, cussing is
Okay.
by the fact that you're saying cussing is weird.
What
You got
say?
curse? I don't know. No,
Curse?
cussing
I
is
don't know.
that seems very southern or whatever.
I
Where are you
guess.
from?
Well,
I forgot.
I'm from LA, but my folks are from
that's perfect,
Southern
actually.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times people would be like, "Are you from Texas?" And I'm like, "No, I just when I get frank, a little bit of this comes out." But yeah, OkCupid, we went on a date. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be terrible." She's just out of my league.
Yeah.
It was probably a good thing because it just made me relax.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna fuck it, just be myself. And then I dropped an egg out of the burger I ordered, like all over my shirt.
Yeah.
And was like, fuck. So I left, went back. My roommate Josh was like, how'd the date go? And I was literally in the middle of being like, well, she was great, but I don't know. And my phone, goes. Bloop, bloop.
Yeah.
And I look at it, and she sent me one text, and it was, by the way, you are such a fox. And I was like, oh, it went great. The date was great. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I think this podcast is pretty much created because of you.
What? No, really?
Well, because I've always wanted to do a thing, to be honest with you. There was a thing where I can just talk to people, because you and a black person. That's really what it was. It was like, I just want to be able to talk to people and ask things that I don't really know about.
Yeah.
And that I feel weird talking about.
Yeah.
And then just have someone who I'm comfortable talking about that with.
Yeah.
And then just getting so people can whatever. And then the one was like race issues I wanted to do. It just stuff was like, as a white guy, it's like, what the fuck can I even do?
Yeah, of course.
And then when I saw your thing, I went, I'm doing it. Like, I was like, it was the thing. I was like, well, I'm doing it. You'll be my first guest.
Yeah.
See, and I will be awkward because
okay.
I just am in my head about everything. So even before we get started, so it's Ada?
Ada. Yeah. So these days I'm going by Ada Westfall. Because Ada Cochran has a problem in the middle of it.
What do you mean? That's great.
Yeah.
That is fucking great.
Westfall is my mom's maiden name, and it's my middle name legally. So I was like, I like it. I mean, no offense to the Cochran lineage, but I've always liked Westfall better anyway. So
Greg Stone. Coraluzzo is my last name.
Right. Yeah,
Come on.
of course.
Coraluzzo,
Yeah.
Stone. Way cooler. It's my mom's
Easier.
name. It's easier.
That's actually my mom's middle name is Stone.
Really?
Yeah. She comes from the Stones.
Wait, is she related to me? She might be.
Got folks in like Carbondale, Illinois.
I don't know if she's related. I'm related to like George Washington and like
Really?
Thomas Stone, who signed the Declaration of Independence. Like all these crazy Stones. So if you have that lineage, we might be related.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But that's not an Italian side, right?
No, that's like the English, French, all that
I was
bullshit.
gonna say because like
Yeah.
Coraluzzo, I wouldn't.
That's my dad. And
Yeah.
my mom's like 50% Italian, and my dad's 100%. So my grandfather has all this crazy lineage, which is like with the
Oh,
Stone
that's
family have been here forever.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the reason I wanted to change my name, because I was like, well, the Stones have done so much. Carluzzo's ain't done some shit.
Funny.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
both done like the same thing. God, I wonder
Yeah.
if like, way back we match up. That's hilarious.
That's crazy. So Ada.
Yes.
And the Ada Cochran joke is Ada Cochran, right? Is that what we're talking about? Or that's not the joke?
Or
Did I miss
just
it?
Ada Cock or
Okay,
whatever. I mean,
'cause that is great.
honestly,
That
it's
is
the
great.
Same, it's the same shit I suffered as Adam. It's just made one letter worse.
Yeah.
So,
Why Ada? Just because it's one letter off?
because it's one letter. I mean, I think this is something.
Because you could have been anything.
True.
Debonair or whatever. Yeah.
Like Violetta.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. I'm sure this is like a recurring theme that'll happen as we talk, but I fully understand and respect and support the choice that a lot of trans people make to choose a completely new name, because for a lot of people who are transitioning, it's very traumatic.
Sure.
They're trying to leave behind a side of themselves that is painful for them, memories they don't want, stuff like that. And so it makes sense to me that if you're Bob and suddenly you want to be Esmeralda, like, sure, more power to you. In my case, like, there's a lot of things about I don't actually feel like, other than some well, I don't know. I'm still understanding what all the changes I'm going through really are. They're turning out to be more numerous than I.
By changes, you mean the physical things you're doing?
I mean,
or mental things that have already been happening?
All of it. Literally, yeah, physical things, mental things, emotional things.
That are all, but just, I mean, they're all happening because of the choice to move forward, or things you're just kind of finally coming in touch with.
Well, I hate to keep saying all of it, but all
care.
of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's. I mean, some things are very like medication oriented. For example, I'm growing tits.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Super fun. It's super weird.
Yeah.
But then like emotional things like. It's funny how stereotypical it gets really fast, but like I cry a lot more, and I swear to God, I'm pretty sure I don't like bleed or anything, but I'm pretty sure I had a period. I got so pissy for a week.
Yeah,
and could not figure out why. And then so I read, reading online on like Wikipedia or something, and they were like, yeah, trans women taking estrogen can experience like PMS symptoms, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's okay. That's not that that's okay. Of course, it's okay, but I mean, like. The fucking psyche is so fragile.
Yeah.
Like if I smoke a little pot,
yeah,
I think people are cops. You know what I mean? So it's like, of course, you're taking medications. Things are going to happen. Things are going to change. They're going to throw you off a little bit. I mean, I didn't really have much with that, but I mean, it's great. Right. Like I'm wondering what those crazy changes would happen because we are such fragile, especially mentally and chemically in our brain.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how much. How many of our behaviors are ruled by just hormones? Fuck all the other ones. Just narrow it down to estrogen, testosterone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those two things. There's ranging from emotions to behavior to just normal things that your body does. I mean, okay, you want a weird one?
I would love a weird one.
And also, like. I'll come back to this, but in a second. But But with me, I would say as a general rule, with like all trans people, there's probably a lot of questions that are like super rude to ask, and you shouldn't.
Oh, and I'm going to ask them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. With me, ask me anything.
Of course, I feel so. We've known each other. I've known you for a long time. I have so much love for you. So this is just a feeling out situation.
Yeah, and my whole thing with this is like, again, I fully respect and appreciate that. Trans people don't want to talk about this, and or only want to talk about some things, and so there was that awful moment. I forget which talk show host it was, but some talk show host asked, oh God, what's her name on Orange Is the New Black?
I know who you're talking about. The girl, the guy. God, see, this is already why it's hard because I don't. The black person who. Cuts hair in the show.
God, I'm a terrible trans person,
but I don't know her. It's okay.
She's like the most famous.
But we know who you're talking about.
I know who you're talking about. Some talk show host was like, so which junk do you have? And it was like this whole big deal, and she got really offended. And I say, rightly so. Like it was her right to call that out as a silly question. In my case, I am making it, especially for people I know, a really safe zone where I want people to be informed. I think a lot of the phobia out there comes from.
Ignorance. Sorry.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm my own science experiment.
Yeah.
I don't have the traditional narrative that I'm sure we'll get into of, I was trapped in the wrong body from the time I was 2 and I hated my penis for a million years and cut it off immediately.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, I think the whole thing's weird and funny and fun, also terrifying and complicated and, all the hard stuff too. But I'm kind of like, sure, let's talk about what's happening to my junk because that's important.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think most people's fear comes from two things. One, of course, not knowing makes you feel whatever, but there is a sense of when you don't know, you don't know what to say, so then you pull back, and then you don't want to be an asshole, and then you're ultra aggressive because you're trying not to be an asshole. Like you and I just being like, Adam, if I call you Adam, and then you go, well, fuck you, man. Then I go, no, man, well, fuck you, man. How the fuck am I supposed, and then it's like,
right.
I think it's good. And this is also a new thing. I mean, relatively, even the surgery isn't past whatever, years.
Yeah,
so,
it has been around for a long time, but certainly in way more primitive forms earlier and way less common. Nobody was talking about this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
Not the way it is now.
No.
No
one was talking about it the way they're talking about it now when I worked with you at Apple. in 2009.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely, we worked together at Apple. Yeah, well, you figure that out. Whatever, fuck you. No, but like, you know, it's definitely becoming more, and maybe it's just because I live in New York, but it's definitely becoming more of a. That was the whole thing with the bathroom. And did I cut you off? I hope I didn't cut you off.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. No. My big thing is like the big problem with everything now is the lack of willing to bend and the lack of people being okay with people not knowing something. Like, now this is going to sound, pardon for my ignorance, you know, this is going to sound ignorant, this is going to sound shitty, but like, I remember there was a YouTube thing about a black girl. It was like a YouTube. It was a things you should never do to a black person. It's like, don't ask to feel our hair.
Yes.
And then part of me is like, okay, I get that that's annoying, right? But on the other hand, there might be someone who's never felt hair, and this is their way of coming to you to feel comfortable and to just try to meet you there. And I get it seems shitty, but I'm a comedian. And as a comedian, people always come up to you and go, tell me a joke. I hate it. It's annoying. It's obnoxious. It never ends well.
Yeah.
But it happens 99% of the times, and it's just something I just go, hey, man, this is your first time talking to a comedian. After we become friends, you'll stop asking.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, here's
Go ahead,
where I would cite the difference between those two things.
Sure.
Is that comedians
and also, you know, I'm an asshole. I'm just throwing out any example.
No.
Sure.
I actually think this is a great distinction to make.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to talk about. You know, comedians, let's say as a race,
haven't, because we didn't choose it.
Well, yeah, right. You're born with it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess in their own way they've been marginalized, but you know, haven't experienced. You know, I just finished reading the oh my god, I just can't think of anybody's name today. A People's History of the United States.
Okay. If it's a book, I've never read it.
Whatever. Well, all I know is that it's a whole history of the United States from the beginning of it all the way to Howard Zinn. That's his name, Howard Zinn. From the beginning to almost the present, because he died and he never really got to Obama and beyond. But
sure.
It's the whole history of the U.S. told from the perspective not of the politicians and all the people who were told are great and you're supposed to study in school, but of the people who all of these policies were affecting directly. And when you read it, it's a horror show.
Yeah.
It just, from front to back, like we've just, ruined people and killed people just left and right, and I think it's why privilege is such a conversation these days.
Yeah.
And while I'm with you in that I think it can sometimes come down to this granular level where people are getting incredibly offended when maybe they're misreading intentions.
Yeah.
On the one hand. On the other hand, if somebody says, hey, you're a comedian, tell me a joke, there's not like 200 years of fetishization, sort of inherent in that. So they're not, while they are making an other of you, they're not, there's not like a history of aggression behind that in the same way.
I get the idea of the aggression and all that, but I do think that a lot of times when it comes down to it, it is just someone going, this isn't new to me, I'm excited, and they just say the first ignorant thing because they're ignorant to the new situation they're in.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, I mean, and that's kind of why I wanted to have these talks, because it's like, let's get those out of the way,
Yeah, of course.
It's like, I mean, the whole thing with, I'm going to do the race podcast, another one. But, all right, let me just get to my first question, which is, I really think we should start at the beginning.
Yeah, great.
Which is, how did you know? When did you, just what was that story? How did you know that?
Yeah, well, okay, so I would actually say this is that true? Yeah, I'd say this is probably the question I get the most.
Of course.
Certainly, like when I first start talking to people about this.
This is the can I feel your hair haircut. This is can I feel your hair question,
Exactly. So this is the thing. It's actually kind of a weird question to answer because, I think every trans person, I know every trans person has a different narrative, and the one that we get shoved down our throat all the time. And granted, it's valid, it's true, it exists, but is the one I sort of brought up a minute ago, which is like, I knew from the time I popped out of the womb I wanted to wear dresses and play with Barbies. And that wasn't the case with me. I grew up as a boy, pretty happy as a boy. I don't recall a whole lot of gender dysphoria that I was really conscious of in the beginning of my life. So it didn't really like crystallize as a an idea or as like an identifiable problem in my head until I'd say somewhere in college, maybe just after. I would certainly say like by the time we met, how old was I? 25 or something?
This was 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah, I was dating Barry McLean.
Oh yeah. Sure.
And that was a thing that was coming up in our relationship at the time. So, that's kind of when the idea was really.
So it was coming up then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Now that said, I wasn't talking to really many folks about it outside of maybe like a couple of really close friends and within the relationship.
Yeah.
So it kind of progressed and I met my current girlfriend Rachel, and she identifies as she's a cis woman, but identifies as queer and almost, she's dated men and women, but almost more a lesbian than anything.
Sure.
But was dating me. And so really her openness to all of that allowed me to really feel like I could explore this idea without, fucking up a relationship,
of course,
or stuff or whatever. And so I finally sort of realized that I was gonna do it and like made the decision. John, our friend John, had a wedding last summer out on Martha's Vineyard where he was born and raised, and so we went out there and got an Airbnb sort of out at the edge of some woods. Me and Rachel, and we were staying out there. So we went to the wedding. Everybody left. They went on their honeymoon. We stayed for a couple more days. And of course, if you're going to be at a little house on the edge of the woods in Martha's Vineyard, you bring shrooms. What else would you do?
I was going to say, I wonder if this is just some drug thing. It's you just did LSD, and he was like, "When I knew."
Exactly. It was kind of like that. Like I literally, and this is going to sound so like maudlin and goofy or whatever, but really, I haven't done. I've only done them like a handful of times, but I've always had a beautiful experience with them, and I'm standing out in the. Rachel was like, "I don't want to do this right. I'm going to watch TV." So she's like inside watching TV. I'm out, having a mystical experience in the backyard and
frolicking in the grass.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
And I just had this moment where I kind of stopped and I don't know, felt. As goofy as it sounds, felt really connected to everything around me. The wind was blowing, the leaves sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and I kind of closed my eyes and felt my feet kind of, root into the ground, and I just sort of like, I'm not that religious. It's not like I was talking about God or anything.
No,
but
sure,
I
of course.
Sort of questioned, posed this question to the universe. Like, what the fuck am I?
Yeah.
Like I have all these feelings. It gets more and more complicated all the time. I have this weight sitting on me all the time. What am I?
Yeah.
And the sort of like non-verbal feeling of an answer that came back to me was, you're female. You just are.
Yeah.
You know? And it sucks that there's a lot of things in your life and about your body and about the way you've been socialized and stuff that don't reflect that or play against it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's what's true. And the second I kind of thought it and accepted it, it was like all of a sudden, just looking back through my entire history, all the way to childhood, I wasn't conscious of it. But man, I was doing things as a kid that like little cis straight boys just aren't doing.
See, this is my question with that, and I don't want to interrupt you because there's this thing. Because now we live in a day and age where, girls can do what they want. Girls can dress like boys. They can play with action figures. Boys can do whatever they want. They can, you could do it, And so the feeling of being a woman to me is a thing that I don't understand because I don't feel like a man. I've always been,
interesting.
Like I've never felt like a man. I've never felt like anything. I've always felt like, there's a penis. It feels like it should be there, because there's not like, it doesn't itch, it's not like, so it's like, okay, that's probably in place.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But I was of course. I was a white guy who grew up in a very poor black Puerto Rican neighborhood, and I would rollerblade, and I would just do these things that like were never like, not that rollerblading is whatever, but like I cry a lot. I've always been very emotional, and so there was these things that the man things in me were things that were ingrained in me. Things of like, get up for a woman and be tough and fight. But that's never who I was. But I never felt. So this idea of not feeling what you are to me is something I just, because I've never had an experience with that. Can you explain? Is that anything that you found? I mean, does that make sense?
Yes,
what I'm saying to you?
That absolutely makes sense. I would say, well, it's a good question. I think a theme that is that will sort of reverberate throughout this is that it's a little different for everybody. So far be it from me to to speak for all trans people, but I can speak for myself. And I think that a big part of it is about congruity, as in
you dive. I don't know. You have to tell me what that word means.
Well, meaning whether or not you feel like a man, and whether or not you might have like, or maybe this is a better way to put it.
No,
when you look in the mirror. I don't know, what
I hate what I see, so I know where you're going. I go, that's an ugly piece of
shit.
I mean, it's funny, I'll look in the mirror and I go, all right. But then I'll see a picture from any other angle and I go, what are you, an eagle with that nose? What is that throat thing? Oh, God. I just go, well, I just don't look in mirrors. Because I'm not but I'm a funny guy. I don't get him for the looks, I get him for the jokes.
Sure.
But I think I see what you're saying. But keep continuing,
please. So then I would say that is...
We're going to find out that I'm totally supposed to be a woman and never... This is how
let me tell you about growing boobs, because they will solve your problems. So I would say that right there is your seed of empathy, right? Not that you don't have empathy, but it's that, imagine that feeling, but then, so, in theory, if you felt badly enough about that stuff, there are things you could technically do about it.
Of course.
You could...
I go to the gym.
You could go to the
I
gym.
could eat a fucking salad.
You could eat a salad. You could get liposuction.
Sure.
You could get a nose job. You could, you could turn yourself black like Rachel Dolezal.
Sure. We have to get into that. We're going to, at some point, we're going to. Because
I am so not qualified.
No, but that is the thing that, just real quickly, I do have an issue with the fact that it's I do believe if this woman identified as being another race. How the fuck am I supposed to say no? You think you're something else? I don't give a shit. You're that. Go ahead. You be what you fucking want to be. It's America.
I know what you mean. It's I feel so opposed to that whole thing, but at the same time, I have to tell you, since I've started doing this, I've been a little bit well, this seems like a pot kettle situation, doesn't it? I've been kind of I'm just not even gonna.
It's been out. It's old news now.
Yeah, right.
But to that, and I don't want to and we're gonna get right back to what you said.
Yeah.
But to the thing is that look, and my argument for her is that she physically became black, so she did take on the problems that the black community has. Yep. So if you're willing to do that. Then I'm fucking fine with it. If you're just saying you're black, but you're walking around in white skin, and you're I want to go to college because I'm a minority, but then you're getting cabs and shit, pardon the ignorance or whatever. But but if you're getting that, then it's well, that's fucked up. But she was paying. From what I remember, I think she full out became her black.
Well, was she working for the NAACP or something?
She was getting people doing good for black people. It's how God bless this woman. And I don't give a shit. Maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe I'm ignorant. But I'm that, I don't know. She took upon their things, and which I think more people should be doing.
Oh, well, I'm really excited for your race episode.
Oh, no. I'm just going to end in a fist fight.
I can't wait to hear this conversation later.
Well, I'm very different because I also have different background. I grew up with only white kids, so there's a lot of these things when people say white privilege, all this shit. It always bothers me because it's you can say whatever you want, but I have a scar on my face for being a white person.
Yeah,
so, and I don't, and the idea, the whole idea of this is going to piss people off. I don't really want to get this. I need to have a black person here to talk to them about this.
I agree.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
But
no, but I know what you mean. I'm sensitive to all of it because, I, on the other hand, I grew up in LA. I went to rich private schools. I was very much not the only white kid around, and I have benefited from a lot of privilege. So it's interesting. I think even between you and I feel way less okay, like opining about that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when you say what your history is, I go, oh well, yeah, I feel like you're more qualified to speak on that than I am.
Yeah, and also I'm not angry or weird. I just have questions.
Yeah,
that I'll have to figure out when I have the next podcast.
Of course, and that's what I think is cool about what you're doing here is at the end of the day, we're creating a safe space to talk about stuff. And people can decide from there, but I think it's there's sort of an educational aspect to all of this.
There's also no real answer. I mean, like I have black friends who would agree with me, and I have black friends who would want to punch me for saying that.
Yeah,
so it's like, well, then who's right?
Yeah,
it's like, well, it's be mindful of people and try to care for them. You know, so it's like, what else can you do? You do that. You'd be nice. But I do want to continue with this feeling of your feeling, please.
So let's see where we are. So you look in the mirror. In theory, there's things you can do about it. And a lot of people do. Those things we listed. They get nose jobs. They get Botox. They get, boob jobs. They get, all these things. So, not that I'm necessarily equating, transitioning to getting a boob job, but by the same token, it's like when I look in the mirror, it is. I don't think it's too strong of a word to say painful to me to see. What registers as a guy looking back at me.
Yeah.
And I think it took me a long time to get in touch with that because for a long time it registered kind of almost more what you were talking about.
I identify as a good-looking person, and then I look in the mirror and I don't see him looking back at me, and it is painful.
Well, right. Well, it's that feeling, right? And for a long time I thought it was like
fucking on the. I mean,
I thought
in a weird way that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would look in the mirror and be like, I hate my chin, I hate my nose, I hate the way my the fat on my arm sits. And what I slowly started realizing was actually here. This is an interesting point. The last sort of like thing that kind of happened before I swung hard in the other direction was like, no, I got to do this transition thing. Was I tried really hard to like get into the being a man thing. I started going to the gym. Rachel and I
get it.
Like we started like lifting weights and all this stuff. And what ended up happening was because also I was getting like a kind of a beer gut and love handles and da-da-da. And so and I was super unhappy about that. So I started working out, started doing all this stuff, and I like thinned out, and I started getting muscles for like the first time in my life because people don't know what I look like, but I'm a little person, generally speaking, and at first I was like, all right, cool, I'm like starting to have abs and like pecs and stuff, and the further I went, the more I was like, I hate this. I almost hate this even more than just being like,
I get it,
skinny, fat, pudgy little guy, like, it was so when I started realizing that all the things that I was hating in the mirror, or rather the way I wished they would be, was always more feminine.
Wow.
I wish my nose was more feminine. I wish my body had hips instead of love handles. This was a little less obvious at first, but like the more these boobs grow, the more I love them. There are so long hair. I mean, that was one that went all the way back to childhood. Whenever my parents would make me cut my hair, I'd throw a fit.
That's also being said. Knowing you, you always dressed very feminine. The pants were like girl pants.
Yeah,
in the nicest way. But also at that time,
a
lot of these punk rock kids were wearing girl pants, but you were really, you had the tight clothes. And I always was like, oh, that's very rock star. Because you're a rock star. For people who don't know, like you would do you were a rock star. And so it was very rock star-ish, but it was very effeminate.
Well, and that was a convenient way to get to explore a little bit. It's not to say that I like played rock and roll so that I could explore being trans, but you're right. Like, it was easy to wear black nail polish and be like, oh yeah, I'm doing like a gothy emo rock thing.
It's a nice blanket.
And not to mention eyeliner, to have long hair. You were right. I literally wore girl pants. Ironically, I'm not today. I'm wearing boy pants today. But there was so much exploring. I don't know why we let rock and roll, why it gets this pass on like gender bending the way it does.
I have a thing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I do think that a lot of those guys probably are, more on the scale feminine, because to be in music, look at Prince. You know, like I'm not saying, but like it's very emotional. It's I got really high and thought about this one day, and so I don't remember if I've never said it out loud, but I came to this terms of I was like David Bowie. You know, you look at these guys and you go, that is definitely someone who may have never even accepted maybe the fact that they might be trans in their brain. Maybe they have a little 70-40 woman.
Sure.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he famously. It's funny. He sort of reneged on this a little later, but he famously came out as bi for a while. Maybe even said he was gay for a hot second, real early on. But yeah, I think he backed off on it later as he got older. But absolutely, I'm like, of course, even if none of those guys were, sort of meant to be women or felt like they were women, I would certainly say that if we're talking about a spectrum of, masculine, hard masculine on one side and soft feminine on the other side, they were totally living somewhere in the middle, or certainly closer to the female side than
an MMA fighter,
Dave Matthews.
Yeah. Or I would even say that maybe even most music, probably you have to get into a. I mean, not to say that music is feminine, but I do think it does come from the feminine place. Not feminine place.
You're accessing emotions.
You're accessing emotions, which I think is more along the feminine side.
Yeah.
Than instead of bracking them down. But what is I don't actually know what being a man totally is. I do want to say that being a man is having your emotions is being a man, but that's just the bullshit new man thing where you're like, I don't know. Be honest with you, I don't know. But when I was watching this David Bowie documentary, I was like, he looks like a pretty woman.
Yeah.
He looks like a very pretty woman, and it was like and I wondered, like with some actors, Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger is the one guy when he was young. I was like, I want to fuck that guy. He's just, I don't know why. I just find him very I was like, there's something about him, but he's dead, so I'll never get to explore it. I don't know. So I wonder with your pass on that it's very interesting.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm just an idiot with a 1 year degree in college. 1 year I went to college, so who the fuck am I? But I wonder,
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I do want to. Was that okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying to get better. I have very bad ADD, so I'm trying to get better at not cutting people off. I'm gonna throw out a thing, and let's hear how you say, because this is something I've never said out loud.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna. So just bear with. I don't believe in gay, in not the way that sounds. I get mad at the idea that we're in a society where you have to be like. I get why you have to say you're gay, because you need to take this fucking pole and put it in the ground and go, fuck you. This is what I am. I have a backbone. I used to not want to drink or do drugs, so I said I was straight edge because it gave me something to fall back on. But I always
it's an identity, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think like I never, as a joke, I would always say like I'm not straight. I just haven't met a guy I want to fuck yet. So there's this idea that bothers me of that, like, because I see gay guys bashing bisexuals.
Yes.
And it's like,
you're
just
a problem. Yeah.
And I see, you see straight guys bashing bisexuals. You see and the thing is like, I don't think you have to say. I had a bisexual person come up to me after a show once, crying because I do a bunch of gay stuff in my act, and he was like, I fucked a guy once. You fucked a girl once. And he was like, I enjoyed it, but I'm not allowed to enjoy it. And so I have to, my gay friends were mad at me. And I was like, yeah, no, you fuck who you want to fuck whenever you want to fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
No kids, no rape. Anything else you want to do, you fucking do it.
Yeah.
That's my only 2 rules. That's it.
Yeah.
So I get mad that there has to be this, I'm gay, I'm bi, I'm this, because then as good as that is, it then makes people fall back into thinking they have to be that category and they have to maintain that. And I know I know a lesbian who I'm friends with. She works at a comedy club, and she fell for a guy, and she felt bad about it. And I was like, you can't feel bad about it. You just do what you want to do. If you like that guy, go fuck that guy, or don't, or kiss him, or you don't have to. It doesn't be so dirty, but whatever, be nice. And that's a thing that I don't know. Is that shitty of me to say?
No. I don't think so at all. I think that's actually very progressive.
Well,
no. I mean, I'll say this. I understand our culture's need for identity markers and labels, and In some cases, I think they're very helpful. I mean, for instance, saying one's gay, declaring that, I mean, it serves a functional purpose. It just lets other gay people know you're gay.
Yeah, we're in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Party on, Wayne.
It's also I have a wonderful friend named Matthew Marsh, who's this great musician, and he's gay, and he, he can speak very eloquently about that at this point, gayness is not just a sexuality; it's a whole culture. I mean, you in some senses, you can fuck men and kind of not even really be, capital G gay because you aren't part. You've separated yourself from the culture in some ways. There are people who effectively function as straight people in their day-to-day lives, but go home and fuck a dude.
But see, that's what bothers me. Because that's what bothers me about the word gay. Because it's like, not that it bothers me about the word gay, but it bothers me because it's like, just be who you want to be. And then people are like, well, so gay now is just what, wearing fun clothes and saying a thing. You know what I mean? Like, why is that? That's what gay to me means. You are attracted or not attracted. You're attracted to the same sex. If you were not attracted to the same sex, you're not gay. I mean, I used to fuck a steak. I had a little. I shouldn't have told you that, but I was young. Some guy, when I was young, some kid in high school said.
You mean like a meat steak?
Yeah, he said if you fuck a steak feels like a vagina.
Oh yeah.
And so I tried it.
I fucked a couch once.
Exactly. It's like, but I'm not attracted to couch. I'm not attracted to steak. I did it to come. So unless there are just men out there who are so into coming that they're fucking men because it's the only thing there.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just doesn't like this idea that people want to either. I don't like the idea of people backing off of gay, and I don't like the idea of people pushing into gay. So if you're like, I'm fucking a guy, but I'm not gay, it's like, well, then fuck you. And if you're just like, well, it's like, oh, I had sex with a guy, now I'm gay. It's like, well, then fuck you. It's like, you don't have to be in or out of the water. It's
totally
get in and out.
And I think that's exactly right, in a sense, which is, I think we're as we sort of move into the 21st century and then, and this becomes more and more of a conversation.
Yeah.
I think that we're realizing that both, I think we've already, since the Kinsey days, we've already realized that sexuality is a spectrum.
Sure.
It just is. It's a continuum. You can land anywhere, from completely straight to completely. Well, I was going to say completely straight to completely gay, but also like completely sexual to completely asexual. There are people who identify as I'm not anything. I just don't fuck.
Yeah.
Tim Gunn is a famous example. Did you know that?
Tim Gunn is asexual?
Is technically, I don't know. I can't remember if he technically calls himself gay or not. I don't believe he does. He is asexual. He does not have sex.
Well, I'm in a relationship for 8 years. I'm asexual. That's just how that is. We don't do it. It's
Listen,
fine.
Make it work.
She accepts me for who I am. It's very good.
Which is beautiful.
I don't know. I do know. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff is easier than it has to be.
Yeah.
But we're not at a place in society where they'll accept the fact that it's that much easier.
I think that's right.
I
think it could, would, and should be that simple, and I think it could, should, and would be the case that you are what you say you are. At the end of the day, identity should in its purest form be a self-generated phenomenon. And yet, the problem is, when I think the easiest answer for me to give people right now, and I do think that it's a true answer, but is I go, okay, I'm adhering to kind of the binary we all talk about, and so if I'm not going to be a man, I'm going to be a woman. This kind of gets into like pronouns. I'm sure.
Do I really want to get into this next because this is a thing that it makes me furious on a different, not furious, but
no, but I know what you mean.
It's I have to really get a pen. Let me get a pen because I have a few questions that I don't want to forget, and we're having such a great conversation that I don't want to.
Well, here.
So go ahead, finish what you're saying. Nothing matters. I don't fucking have a piece of paper anyway. What am I? This is why I'm not good at.
You can write it on a phone.
There we go.
There you go. Wait, what was the upshot of this? I can't. We got into pronouns. I can't remember how we got there.
Tim Gunn, asexual. Then you said being in the world of
Yeah, I know. Which So we're also thinking of these days. We're starting to understand that gender is a spectrum too. Yeah. Here's an example. When I came here today, so I'm roughly 6 months into this transition. I've been on estrogen and this other drug called. Spironolactone, which is a testosterone blocker.
Okay.
Right, because as long as I have nuts...
That's what I call my wife.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. It was an easy joke, and I had to do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not even married.
No.
So you're on the drug. Sorry.
Well, yeah, you can get a wife, or you can chop your nuts off,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you can take spironolactone.
Uh-huh.
So that said, like, there's definitely changes. Like, I'm starting to, especially when I wear sort of a tight shirt like I've got on, like, I'm starting to clearly have boobs.
Yeah.
I'm really desiring my face to catch up.
Yeah.
But also, like, I actually, right before this, which is so appropriate, I came from electrolysis.
Yeah, you were saying.
And so, I also, I had it, and then I then shaved all the hair that's still there, so I do have a bare face right now. But but even so, we haven't done anything on my upper lip yet. So no matter, I can shave it backwards and forwards, all directions, and I still end up with a shadow. I've got some makeup on right now, but but no matter what, right now, unless I go out with a full face of makeup, heels on, a dress, I read either as, I guess depending on who you are out in the world, I either read as a dude who looks weird, or I'm I would say that I'm reading as some gender that's kind of in between. I'm serving a couple of at least a couple of gender markers to you.
Yeah.
I've got a 5 o'clock shadowy thing going on, but I'm also wearing like a nude lip color.
Yeah.
My hair isn't that long or that styled, and yet it has highlights in it, and it's been brushed.
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing actually a completely male outfit, but I've got jewelry and a necklace and what else was I going to say? And and tits.
Sure. Yeah. Those things. Yeah.
So I think honestly right now, for me to walk around calling myself a woman, I think it's my right. I think there is absolutely truth in that statement, but also I feel like that's not really what I am right now. I feel like I'm somewhere kind of in between.
But let me ask you this, and this is the thing that not that it bothers me, but it's a thing that picks in my head, is that those two words are just words.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's a thing that, like, it's like you're like with the transgender bathroom thing that everyone's going into. My whole thing was like, I don't know, it's just labels. Like, if you look more like a man, if you go into the men's room, if you look more like a woman, if you're willing to put a dress on and do the whole fucking thing, all right, you go into the exactly right. You're getting dolled up for it. You go in the woman's bathroom. I don't really care.
Sadly, I don't know this person's name, but there's a trans man out there who looks, he's like bigger than you are.
Was a woman, now a man.
Was a woman, now a man. And is just like hairy. It just looks like could be a bouncer at a club, right?
Yeah.
And has started this photo series online where he goes into in states where he's not allowed in the men's bathroom. He goes into women's bathrooms and then takes selfies in the mirror, often with other women standing near him, to just show how fucking ridiculous.
Oh, I've seen that guy. He's huge. He's huge. White guy, tattoos, right?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
But see, that's my thing. Is that
it's like he doesn't belong in there.
But that being said, no one's gonna check him. No one's at the bathroom being like, "Show me your junk."
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing. It's like when everyone,
fact, when they've tried, they've even fucked it up and gotten it wrong. There was a story of a lady who got I forget which state.
That's
who got
hilarious.
Literally thrown out and like berated, and she was a fucking cis woman. Like I'm like, so
it's the worst self-esteem day for her ever.
Write the law. It's like, how are you? You're gonna start whipping people's pants?
Exactly.
Like that's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense. And the whole, I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was. I have a stupid story I have to tell you real quick. I was because I want to be supportive. And here's the thing: you think about it. It's like, also, how many transgender people do you meet? You know what I mean? You meet more because they're probably in a community, I would imagine.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, as somebody who's only been transitioning for 6 years, God knows I've met some. I have a couple of friends, but I don't know that many.
Yeah, I've maybe met
yet,
two
anyway.
in my life, counting you. And so the thing is, like, everyone's just like, well, we have to blah blah blah. It's like, well, it's not even that often. Well, here's the thing. I'm in the bathroom, and I see this box, and it says "Place feminine products here," and I go, "Oh my God, this is a trans bathroom. This is a bathroom that allows transgender people here. Very exciting, awesome." I'm like, I'm excited, like, okay.
Yeah.
I will come out of the stall and I see a woman washing her hands, and I look at her and I gave her a fist. I gave her black power. I wanted to show her my support. I was very excited, and then she looked back at me and she kind of gave it back, like she was like, yeah, and I was like, hey. And I walked out of the bathroom and I was just in the ladies.
God.
I just went into the wrong bathroom. but then saw a woman who we were so in our heads about this that she was just like, he identifies as a woman. I'm okay with that. And I was like, he identifies.
She literally like gave you the
She smiled back and had a thing. Oh my God,
that's amazing.
And I walked out, and it was in this it was in Massachusetts. It was a lesbian coffee shop, so it was a very, I definitely prepped my head up.
That helps.
When I walked in, like, I was like, this is it. We're here. And then I saw it, I was like, yeah. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, no, I just shit in the wrong bathroom because I can't read. It was so dumb.
Oh my God.
But like, that's the, and going back to the thing of it's just being labels.
Yeah.
I hate to do a bit, but I have a joke that I tell, and you could tell me finally if it's offensive or not, because I do not know.
Let's find out.
The joke I tell is about I was fighting with this guy on Facebook. We were fighting about transgender, and he was like, if I hooked up with a chick and found out she used to be a guy, I would freak out. I ain't gay.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't think that makes you gay.
Right.
That's a woman who at one time was a man. Like, if you look at me, I'm a man who at one time was a boy. If you hooked up with me, you wouldn't be a pedophile. Like, you get that? Like it's this thing of just like, why is everyone so hung up on these old things? And it's like and these people were fighting to not be gay in these circumstances, and it's just like, I just ran a bit by you. I feel terrible.
Maybe there's some way to find that joke offensive that is not occurring to me, but I think that's hilarious and totally on point.
Oh, myself. Yeah, but I mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about what I used to be. It's about what I am right now and how you've perceived me.
Yeah, but I'm also a different case. I'm a psychopath. I've watched YouTube videos of men kissing just to try to be like, I want to see if I could train myself, because being bisexual would be way better.
I don't. First of all, yes, it is, but also, I think that's beautiful. Frankly, I don't think that's psychopathic at all.
No. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I mean, honestly, to me, when I hear that, successful at or not as an experiment. To me, I would argue that that's an experiment every fucking guy should do, no matter how straight he is, because it's an exercise in empathy.
Yeah,
it's an exercise in seeing if you can find some common ground with somebody else.
Yeah,
and it's like, frankly, this will, this I think will definitely be unpopular with some people, but like, I think every dude should go kiss a dude at least once.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely think.
Just try it.
Yeah.
Like,
why wouldn't you? I've tried mushrooms. Now I know I don't like mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly
it's
right.
I'm totally,
it doesn't end your life. It doesn't turn you gay. Mushrooms don't turn you into a tree-hugging hippie. You have your trip and then it's over.
Oh, no, I mean, I've tried mushrooms on pizza. I don't like mushrooms. I've never actually done mushrooms. I've never done shrooms. I'd love to do them. I'm not going to do them now because I don't want to come out transgender.
On the pizza don't turn you into like Mario from,
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, like, I've had that. Oh man, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I've definitely pushed myself to try to like. I wonder how much of it is, because the thing that bothers me is that everyone says you were born gay, and that bothers me because that to me says this is only okay because you were born this way, and I say that fuck you.
Yeah.
That fuck you. That means it's okay because it doesn't hurt anybody. It's okay because there's nothing that happens wrong. If I said, oh, it's okay, he's black, he was born that way, you'd be like, fuck you. It's okay, I'm black because I'm black. It's not a problem,
Yeah.
This idea that you say it's like, well, you're not going to turn gay is like, and if you did, you wouldn't hate it. You'd love it. It'd just be more enjoyment.
I think that's actually a fascinating point. That's right. I mean, it's like, okay, if let's say somebody quote unquote turns gay. I mean, in a sense,
I'm trying. It's not taking.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I'm turning trans. One could argue.
Sure.
And it's like, well, you wouldn't turn that way if you didn't want to. You know what I mean? Like, there's. To me, I think people who break it down into like, is it a choice? Is it not a choice? Fuck it, sure, it can be a choice.
Sure, if you want it to be.
If you want it to be.
Yes.
For some people, if you avow that it's absolutely not, I completely believe you. If you avow, on the other hand, that you were like, I hit my 40s, I was fucking bored, and I decided to see what would happen if I switched it up, and it turned out I liked it.
Yeah.
That is equally valid, and and it happens.
What I'm excited for is I want the surgery to be so good that I could transition back and forth. I'll do a summer as a woman.
Oh my God. Literally, like you're speaking of my dreams.
How great would that be?
Literally, like I've just like masturbated to the thought. Like
some people go on vacation, they go to the Hamptons. I want to go be a woman, stay in the same town. I'll see the whole thing through different eyes.
Totally.
Why the hell not?
Absolutely.
It's like But I don't know. It's like it's a
that's always my hope for like the future of virtual reality.
Yeah,
like, to be completely ridiculous is like I would love to hope one day that we could like just wire ourselves into you say like your wife's brain and literally just control each other's bodies for experience each other's bodies for a week or whatever
Dude,
and
to what you're exactly saying. I one time when I started playing Grand Theft Auto Online, I made my avatar a woman. I said, well, let's just do this. Why? Because it's like, let's just, I was like,
yeah, it's the proto version of that.
It is. It's like, well, let's just see what, and it wasn't for any real thing except the fact that now I get to see how people will think I'm a woman, which was weird because people tried to fuck you. They go, hey, what are you doing? You want to get in this car? And it's like, first off, you don't know I'm just a guy doing this. But it was also, there was a little bit of a feeling to it that was like, this is something different.
It's interesting to suddenly be the object instead of the objectifier, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
And I don't even mean that in a political way. I just mean in like for me, it's...
No one's trying to fuck me on Grand Theft Auto if I'm a guy.
Right, exactly, right. I mean, well, honestly, like, no one's catcalling me when I walk down the street as a guy, but I have now been catcalled.
Really?
Yeah, when I'm out as a woman. I know. Well, they'll talk about something else that's complicated and fucked up.
Yeah.
Like... I've been catcalled a couple times now. I've had a couple of things where it was like sort of technically a catcall, but it was very friendly, and so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
There are a couple times where it was like your textbook kind of gross thing, and I literally I kind of turned around and I either ignored them or I sneered or maybe I turned around and was like fuck you or whatever.
Yeah.
Kept walking, but there was this perverse side of me that was like, oh, but also thank you for making my day.
Of course.
Like I just got acknowledged as a woman, even if it was in like the grossest, most awful way. And when I've said this to some of my female friends, they have admitted secretly, not all of them to be sure, but they have admitted secretly that like, a similar kind of like Helsinki syndrome happens. Wait, Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm.
Yeah. Syndrome.
You've been using a lot of words I didn't know the whole podcast.
Scandinavian fever. Yeah. It happens, and there's this sense of like, fuck you, that's disgusting. It's it's gross, and I'm also sure that once it's happened for years and years and years and years and years,
sure.
and you've had horrible experiences, like it stops being so
charming.
Yeah. But there's this sense of like, oh, if you've been feeling shitty and ugly all day and somebody goes, hey baby, like as you're walking down the street, there's something that's affirming about that.
And there's really also ways. I mean, like this, I'm in a relationship a long time, but sometimes I would see women on the street and I wouldn't be like, woo woo, but I would be like, I'm sorry, you are beautiful. I'd love to talk, but in a nice way, in a non-threatening way, because I think the threateningness is the scary part.
Yeah.
But now probably we're in society where I can't even do that anymore. I've heard that you can't just talk to anybody anymore.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. But I'm so charismatic. People love me.
I was gonna say you probably get away with it anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. Louis C.K. has a bit that I've always thought was sort of relevant to that.
Yeah.
Which is it's that thing where he says like, it is insane to me that women are willing to go on dates.
Oh yes, of course.
He's like statistically like the most mayhem possible to be caused. It's like going on a date with a bear. Right?
Yeah.
Like it might maul you, but try to take it out and have sex with it or whatever. And so I think there's a little bit of that built in of like it doesn't matter in a way how nice you are. The fact of if I'm a woman on my way to work, I'm thinking about a million other things. The nicest guy in the world walks up to me and starts talking about how beautiful I am, and it's just kind of like was not pertinent to
what I'm doing,
anything that's going on with me right now.
Yeah.
Comma, maybe you just as a figure are a large imposing guy, and if this suddenly turns
goes
the
bad,
wrong
it's
direction,
dangerous. Sure.
Yeah, like I could end up getting pushed onto the fucking subway tracks or something. Yeah. And I think the same way that I completely get that, and I completely understand why there are trans folks who can't tolerate being misgendered and jump down people's throats.
Sure.
And I totally get it. On my end of things, I personally try not to be that way because I think it's I don't know, it doesn't work for me.
Sure.
But also I think that there is a certain amount of that. There's a certain quality to that that's a shame. It is a shame that we can't. That people have fucked up the system so bad that we can't have the freedom to express actually really innocent, beautiful thoughts to each other
That's how I feel about action. I collect action figures, but all the fucking weirdos did it, and they're all like pedophiles and shit. It's like, man, you ruined it for all the adults who want to collect action figures.
Well, it's like, I mean, fuck, that's how I feel about Caitlyn Jenner, right? I'm like, I'm like, oh god damn it,
why him?
Why? Yeah,
why a Kardashian?
Just why? Like, of course. The biggest, most famous fucking trans person has to be like a Trump supporting slug, just awful.
But that's also kind of beautiful.
Well,
it does show you that it's like, well, it's all anybody.
It's
true. Like it's and who that's shitty. It's like, who are we to even judge who gets to have that?
Yeah,
who gets to be that?
I'll put it this way: as much as I dislike her, I use her pronouns in her name.
What's her what?
Well, as in like she and her. And,
of course.
I'm not calling her Bruce and he. Like I think her transition's completely valid. I just think she's an asshole, and I hate that she's like the ambassador.
She's the spokesperson.
For us, Yeah.
I know this is going to sound really ignorant and really shitty. Part of me is like, I'm not 100% convinced that this wasn't a publicity stunt. Like, they're so into money.
God, with that fucking family, who knows?
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus.
I would never deny that to anyone else on Earth.
Yeah, I agree.
But with him, it's like, what would you do to be the fucking super famous again?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
And if he's really progressive, he's like, yeah, I'll be a woman. Who gives a shit? We're giving me a bunch of money. Like, but he's not progressive. I'm sure he doesn't.
No.
I do want to ask you a few things, too, that before I forget, is that... I don't know if you were actually the first person to ever teach me about the pronouns, about Z and Zer.
Oh,
And when you first told me, I got furious because I was like,
I think I remember this conversation.
And I don't mean to sound shitty.
Yep.
Now I'm better with it.
Yep.
But my whole thing just comes with don't make me learn anything. It's just, and it's like, for, and I do think with the pronouns, that this might sound shitty, but there is something to the fact that it's just labels, So when to me it's like, I don't know, like he or she is like, yeah, whatever, like you want to be he, you want to see you. We're making up new stuff. It's like, well, no, because they're labels. They're just labels.
Yeah.
There's not new types of humans coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be ignorant, is shitty, but it's like when they say I don't identify as either, it's like
Well,
and also them bothers me because it's like you want to be referred to as them. It's like that's multiple people. This really confuses the whole conversation.
It's funny. I have hang-ups here too, and I feel so torn about this whole thing. And it's funny. It's such thin ice to tread on. But whatever. Okay, I'm just gonna say what I think about it.
Go ahead.
You're
not right or wrong. Nobody's right or wrong.
Yeah,
it's a new thing. It's evolution.
Yeah, it's a new thing, and I think we're all still. The artistic director of my theater company had this thing that he always says about cell phones. He's like a real stickler in the classes he teaches and in the theater when we're doing a show. About getting everybody to really shut their fucking cell phones off. And part of his thing is, he says that back in the early days of the theater, but long before there were ever cell phones, the regular phone was a new thing at some point.
Yeah.
And they had an issue because they'd have they installed phones in the theater and then it would ring in the theater and people literally had to stop and go, okay, so that can't happen anymore. Like those can't be there.
Sure.
They had to figure out how to problem solve that new technology, and now we're having to do the same thing with cell phones in the theater, right? And we're slowly figuring it out. There are companies now. I mean, I'll get back to the point here, but there are companies now that are will set up at venues and actually sort of
with
temporarily,
Chappelle did that. You put your phone in a bag and then you check your phone.
Exactly. And there's other people who I think want to put out some kind of technology where there's just like some kind of force field in the venue that
just do it in a cement basement,
kills the camera or whatever. Yeah. So in any case, I think that pronouns are similar in that it's a new development, and I think we're having to problem solve what that means. Because on the one hand, since gender, I'm going to say is, sort of inarguably is, on a spectrum, I do think that there are people who are both in shades of one and shades of the other. There's a wonderful book that I just read. Now, granted, the only thing I don't like about this person is that they're buddies with Caitlyn Jenner. But what is her name? Kate. God, I just have nobody's name today. The book's called Gender Outlaw.
Okay.
And they do a great job of explaining.
And see, that's the thing. You mean this person?
I mean this person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they is multiple people.
Right. Agreed.
Let's just do another word instead of they.
Yeah.
To start.
Yeah. Well, they are they have transitioned from male to female, and yet in the book they talk about how their gender is something that should be, and I actually think this aligns with some things that you were saying, is something that should be allowed to be played with.
Sure.
They should be able to be a complete man one day, a complete woman the next day, somewhere in the middle of the third day, and identify however they want. Now, granted, I'm with you in that this is going to get real confusing for the people around them.
I got to learn. I don't know.
But at the end of the day, they should be able to wear whatever they want, talk how they want, act how they want, move how they want, all these things. And so I'm going to keep saying they to respect.
Respect it, but also understand that I might not.
Bornstein,
I'll keep asking you.
Yeah, I mean,
and not to sound shitty.
I think this person's awesome, and I totally respect them. And I'm still sitting here fucking up their pronoun, even as I try to speak about them, just because. And this is where the thing I'm torn about comes into it, is that, and it's so stupid and petty. But yeah, it's grammar. They is clumsy. And Z and Zer and the other ones are even more so.
I think there's 78 different pronouns.
There's a whole.
I only know 3.
There's way more. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't even know what they all are.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, if somebody tells me that that's what it is and that's how they'd like to be addressed, okay, cool. I will do as best as I can to reprogram my brain to respect that. If you tell me that your pronoun, like I think it's there's a cabaret artist in New York whose pronoun is Judy, which I love. But
see, I respect that. I respect it's like, no, I'm not him or her. I'm Leventhal. It's like, well, fuck it. Well, you're Leventhal now. All right.
Yeah, totally.
Do your best. I'm not going to yell at you if you don't. But if you get it once an hour, it'll make me feel better.
That's exactly right. And I actually don't know to what degree people actually use Judy with that person, but at least in like all their bios and stuff, like it's Judy. So
yeah.
I mean, so I do think it's something to be played with. I do think it's something that, man, if somebody wants to say that's what it is, then that's what it is. But that said, I like me, for example, I think probably the truest pronoun for me, certainly right now, maybe forever, would probably be they, because I really think I probably do land somewhere kind of in the middle. After all, I did spend 30 years of my life as
but you're still only one person.
Well, I'm with. Oh my God, I'm with you. Well, and that's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
For myself,
it's just clumsy. I think clumsy is a great word.
It's clumsy.
I wish that wasn't offensive. You could be him, her, or that.
Oh, that
sounds horrible.
Yeah, I know.
But it just kind of makes sense.
I've thought about that.
It's
I've been like, maybe I should be it.
Yeah, I mean, why the fuck not? It's okay, whatever that is. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that sounds really horrible, but I mean, they is already taken. You're trying to move into a room that people are already living in. We already got a thing for they. I have more respect for Z because that's not a fucking word, and we're doing a new fucking thing. I'm cursing like I'm angry, but I'm not.
No, I know. Yeah,
but
no, I know what you mean.
But I mean, if you're wearing, like, I don't know. I think to me, it's instead of taking one and blowing the rest up, I say, well, I'll be both. Like it's like all right. If I identify as a woman, but really somewhere in between, then I accept both. You call me he or her. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
It's like if I see color. If you think this is orange, you think this is red. Well, tell me what you see, and I'll just be okay. I mean, that would not work in today's society because people are fucking horrible human beings.
Well, no, I mean, no. First of all, that is a valid thing that some people do. Who's a good example of that? RuPaul.
Yeah.
You can call RuPaul he or she.
That I love. That's just easy.
Both. Yep.
It's really her being accommodating to everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, yeah.
Which is kind of selfish, but to us, not to her.
Well, it's funny. I'm gonna put words in her mouth, and
who gives a shit? No one listens to this podcast.
I'd love for her to hear this and have a dialogue with little old me. But I would expect that her argument would be in response. No, she absolutely is not accommodating other people. She feels equally male and female, and has just chosen a grammatically unclumsy way.
I love that. I mean, that's a great way to put that. To be honest with you, and it is. And the thing is, if I met RuPaul, I wouldn't necessarily know because she looks like a woman, and so I would go her. But then I know that she was a man, but I'm not 100% sure if she's still a man or not. Is she just
Is
she never had a surgery?
No surgery. She is not. I don't believe she identifies this way at all as trans. She is a gay man.
A gay man.
Who
just likes to wear dresses and look like a woman.
Exactly. Who does
fun.
drag?
It's just fun.
And if you ever watched Drag Race?
No, I don't have cable.
It's okay.
And I think it's an abomination.
I'll have you ever one time we should watch it.
What'd
you say?
I don't have cable, and I think it's an abomination. No, I'm just kidding.
Also, this is Trump's America.
Yeah.
I'll have you ever one time and watch it. It's RuPaul spends a good 50% of that show not in drag.
Really?
Yeah, he wears, granted, very effeminate,
So
beautiful.
the thing, when he's not in drag, I go he. It just feels natural. When he's in drag, he goes she.
And frankly, that pronoun switches back and forth on the show. And also, all of the drag queens on the show, who are, again, 50% in and out of drag, are all, even though they're, actually, no, this season they're not all gay men. There actually is one trans person on it this season. But
this is the way I feel now.
Exactly.
I mean,
they all refer to each other as she. Even when they're out of drag, they call each other she.
If I'm in the cape and cowl, you call me Batman.
That's right.
If I'm not, you call me Bruce.
Wayne.
It's like, why the? I mean, that to me just seems like the best. And like you say, maybe you don't identify as a woman or a man. Well, whatever you're wearing this day that is more that, I'll call you.
Yeah,
is that shitty? I don't know if that's shitty.
No. I mean, I think that there's a something about that it gets at what Kate Bornstein is saying in that book, Gender Outlaw. I mean, I know that Kate uses they, and so they're committed to that being the pronoun. But that said, I think that functionally, that's exactly what they're talking about. Is like tomorrow I'm dressed in a fucking suit, so clearly I'm sending male markers today.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'm wearing a dress, so I'm sending you female markers today. It's funny. The way I'm dressed right now, even with the little makeup and lip color I've got on, I could go into a women's bathroom.
You can go to a man's bathroom too.
Yeah, but honestly, I wouldn't dress like this right now because I don't think I'm sending enough female markers. And in this case, it's not even about me having the right. It's more that I value women's comfort in what is a safe space for them. And so, on the other hand, the nights I've gone out, which I'm starting to do more and more, fully dressed, I use the women's bathroom. And it's not even to say that I'm like, oh, I'm fooling everybody in there. You know, I'm sure most people are reading me as trans if they're liberal minded, or a freak if they're not. But either way, I'm clearly sending enough markers that I'm at least shooting for them.
Doing the best you can.
Listen, no one's going to be like, why are you going into that bathroom?
I go into Planet Fitness. All right. You know what I'm saying? I definitely do not identify as a good, it's like, I'm just trying. I'm doing the best I can to get in that gym. Don't throw me out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
That's what I'm shooting for. I might not be there yet.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. I'm lifting the weights. I'm growing the tits. I'm getting there, Actually, I'm avoiding weights at all costs.
Yeah. No, but I like that. Even if tomorrow I put on a dress and someone said, trying to be respectful, and they were like, hello, ma'am, I'd be like, well, I'm just a guy in a dress. And then we would just be going forward. I'm like, just for the rest of the day. I'm Greg, guy in a dress. I just like a dress. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, why? I mean, it doesn't have to. I think that sometimes it doesn't have to be. I do think that with this new, it's like when you give your grandfather a new computer. There has to be a little bit of a learning curve. You have to give him time.
More than a little bit.
Exactly. You got to give him time to figure out email. And for the most part, with this stuff, it's like we're just giving society time to figure out email. Like if they come out and they're like, are you a woman? It's just like, no, I'm this. Use the space bar. It's very similar in that way. It's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, and I think that's why, again, I fully acknowledge and respect and support trans people who want to flip a pronoun immediately upon beginning and are very sensitive about that, because it's funny, the further I get into this, the more I get it, because even what's an example of this? I mean, if I'm out, and even if I'm not dressed femme these days, every time I go into a Dwayne Reed or whatever and somebody says like sir or whatever, I mean, I've got no beef with that person. There's no indication they should have to call me anything else. If I'm dressed as a boy, my voice is low because I still haven't figured out what to do about that.
If they do, what is that saying? It's going, all right, I got to up the femness. I got a little.
That's exactly right.
I got to up it a little bit.
And in that case, I don't even bother correcting them because it's like, of course you're reading me as a guy. I'm sending you guy gender markers. We're having a little transaction in Dwayne Reed. We're not going to have a whole conversation about I expect you to ask me my pronoun, or of every person you meet. So fine. And yet, it still hurts on some level because it's just a little prod, a little reminder
it's like
that...
being fat.
Like what?
I hate that, I don't want to make the thing, but it is just like gaining a little bit. When someone goes, hey, man, I think you're large, it's like,
sure.
I'm really trying to lose weight, and I'm really there.
I think that's exactly right. It's like walking into a store and saying, like, oh, are you looking for the husky section or whatever? Yeah.
I'm just not there yet.
Right.
It's a reminder to me that
you're seen a certain
I'm
way
still,
that you'd rather not.
That either I'm working towards or not trying to be there yet.
Yeah.
I thank you so much, by the way, as in the middle of this podcast, because I do feel like half the shit I said was really offensive. It's just dumb.
I think
dumb analogies.
What's nice is to whether some of it is or not, and whether I'm speaking to it as perfectly PC.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
You're
matter.
You're a person who's doing a thing, and we're talking as two people.
And we're friends, and
you're not the group. I'm not a group. We're just two people.
Exactly. And I think it's better. I think it's better to get into this. I mean, here comes that word again, but I think it's better to be clumsy with this stuff.
Yeah.
To set a safe space, to set, to lay out terms that, yes, we're friends and we can say fucking anything. And,
yeah.
And no one's going to be angry at anybody else. And let's get in the mud with this stuff.
Yeah.
And start figuring it out. That's part of why I'm like, don't go around asking trans people what's going on with their penises or clits or whatever the fuck. But yeah, fucking ask me. I'll talk about it because I would
ask in a nice way.
Know.
Like when we used to work at Apple, they would tell you had to ask permission. Like, do you mind if I help? It's like there is a certain way to talk to people. That like if I do want to know about your penis, I got to go, listen, hey, I'm really sorry. Do you mind if I ask you about this?
Yeah.
Because it's something that I just want to know because I don't know anything about it.
I'd like to be informed.
Exactly.
And hear a perspective. That's exactly right.
I have one question I want to ask you too before we move on. Whatever, which is that it's about we kind of passed this subject already, so we might be even whatever. But because when you were looking in the mirror before, you were saying when you look in the mirror, you don't see that. But that being said, you still date women.
Yes.
And so that to me seems like a thing of like, and that's like the ignorant question, which I honestly feel like I don't even need to ask anymore. But I think that I would be shitty not to ask it, which is how like it's like you're not. You don't see yourself as a woman, but the only thing I know that makes me a man is that I want to fuck women. That's the only.
Interesting.
That's the only thing that, as a man, I go, "Why are you a man?" Well, I see a vagina and I go crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think the easiest way to push back against that is like, well, gay men fuck men,
of course,
and they're still men, so clearly that ain't the defining factor.
That's really, no, that makes so much sense, and I'm glad I put that out there.
I think manhood or womanhood.
Well, that's the thing with gay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
But like when I see if I saw a man and wanted to fuck a man, I just go, well, I'm a man who wants to fuck a man. That's why I still don't believe in the whole gay thing. Not that don't believe in it, but it's just like, it's like I'm a man because like there's a penis. I want to be with that penis, so I'm a man who likes a man. Well, there's a penis, there's a woman, so I'm, so I'm not trying to sound. I'm just trying to backtrack a little so I don't seem so ignorant.
No.
But
I think actually a useful distinction to make here that also is sort of a not that new of a concept. Again, I think this does sort of have its roots all the way back in like Kinsey era stuff. But we're really only starting to talk about it in a really public way these days, which is the delineation, and this is like a huge hang up for the people who want to write bathroom bills and stuff, is that biological sex and gender identity are two separate things. And what sucks about it is that for a long time we used the word sex to mean both of those things.
And so that's why they say gender now more instead of sex. What sex are you? No, what gender are you?
As in, exactly. Like, So, and that's also why you'll hear people say, well, how's the phrase go? Assigned male at birth or assigned female at birth, because basically you pop out with certain genitals out of your mom's vagina, and somebody pronounces you a boy or a girl, right? Like you don't, back in the caveman days of yore when they're pre-language, nobody had a word for it, but what they did have was ways of socializing you to, to quote unquote become a man. Like think about like a bar mitzvah, right? Mm-hmm. And they say you become a man. Well, what does that mean? You've had a penis for what age does that happen? 12, 13?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm Italian.
I don't know.
Thanks for thinking I'm Jewish. I identify as Italian man. I appreciate you use the proper pronoun. No, but I do believe that being a man, though, that to me is a thing that I actually am all for. Not all for, but I do like the idea, and this is the thing that's crazy, is that I do like the idea of being a man because it gives me a set of rules that I can follow, that when I don't know what to do, I can say, well, a man does this. So when I become a man, that doesn't mean that I now have penis. It now means that now I have to act like an adult, and I have to be responsible, and I have to do the man things. And now I do believe that those things are changing, but I do like the idea of, like, I don't think that you have to follow gender protocol or whatever. Like, you're a woman, you have to stay home and you cook. Yeah. But if worst case scenario, you can just do it and it's easy. You know what I mean? Like, to be a man, it's like, well, I hold this door for a woman. It makes me do a thing that is a good thing. Yeah. Is it because I think you're weak? No. It's because I think, no, but it's because I'm allowed these certain rules, which if I don't want to think about them, I can just do, which I also assign to religion and all that shit, because it's like, oh, well then, what do I do? Well, you have the Bible. Look in there, fucking done. Which, I'm a giant atheist, so I'll get fucking furious immediately. I'm gonna have a priest on this podcast. I'm just gonna yell at him the whole time. No, I'm not gonna yell.
My god.
No, but
I'm going to be such a fan of this. I'm going to listen to every episode of this. I'm so excited.
This might be the only one. Who knows?
I'll listen to that too.
No, but I do think that we get very big at pushing back against man, woman. And I don't like it, because I do think, yes, if you don't want to follow those, don't follow them. You don't have to. But they are there if you need them. If you're a struggling child, you don't know who you are, fuck it. You go into the girls section at Toys R Us and you buy that stuff. Or you go, and then you get a little older and you go, no, I don't. I want G.I. Joes. Let you go. We're going to accept you if you don't follow them, but I don't mind the fact that they're there just to fucking be there.
Yeah, well,
I've never said that out loud, by the way.
I think it's an interesting point. In some ways, I think this kind of gets back to the like touching of the hair question.
Yeah.
In that, if we lived in like a socio-political vacuum, absolutely.
You think I know what socio-political means? What do you mean, like okay or good or cool?
if there was no history, right? Like if all of a sudden, boom, we woke up, it's 2017, we've progressed to the point that we are right now.
Sure.
But in fact, there was, the idea of progress didn't exist because
I got a big turn down for what you're about to say. I'm going to shut this down. I got a good comeback.
Okay, I'm excited. All of these gender roles are predicated on much more intense versions of themselves through the ages, and as such, there's a lot of political, cultural, social trauma that has progressed through the age. I mean, some of which is still happening. A lot of which is still happening. I mean,
we're in New York, so I don't see it as much.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's definitely. I go on the road and I see shit, and I'm like, oh my god.
Sure. Yeah, it's like we see shit in New York. You see probably even worse shit in the middle of the country, and you see far worse shit in like Africa. That things that are going on. I mean, fuck the Middle East. Like, there's horrible versions of this going on out there. So that's all. It's kind of like in a vacuum, asking to touch a black person's hair. Okay, it's a simple curiosity, but in the political historical reality and moment we live in, that's you're contending with, I don't know, decades and centuries, really, of fetishization, and
I mean, just that person's 20 years of dealing, with, or like
that alone.
3 days ago, someone you called a slur or something, and then they go, well, what the? And they're just everything you deal with people is you have to get through their insecurities or their conditions, or you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not good with the words.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think it's like a dramatic word to use, and I feel like it's very easy to fall into like social justice warrior territory. But I think trauma is a good word for it. I mean, you hear the word trauma and you think like ER.
That makes sense,
but I mean, the other word that I actually think is so useful and yet has gotten so politicized that it's like a buzzword to get people that. that cause people on the other side of this argument to just instantly want to shut me down. But there's this word microaggressions that I think is so useful. It's so problematic because it gets just ground.
Microaggression and problematic, 2 words I hate.
Oh man, I mean, this is what frustrates me about them is I actually think they're both 2 incredibly useful words that have just been beaten to a pulp.
Just like the Dave Matthews Band. I love their great music, but I hate their fucking followers. I hate the people that are pushing Dave Matthews Band on me, but they're great musicians.
Yeah, it's like I got to tell you, I didn't really fully understand microaggressions really until I started transitioning.
Of course.
And now that I've experienced a bunch of them,
what's a micro? Give me like an example of like a microaggression.
Oh, let's see.
What was one that happened to you? What is something that has happened to you since this has been happening? I do want to get one tale. Has anything happened to you where you go, God damn it, that fucking sucked?
Okay, well, I got called faggot the other day walking down the street.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you.
No.
Come on, we're having a good time.
I'll be here all week.
Jesus, really? Where?
Yeah, in my neighborhood. I mean, I live in Crown Heights now, and first of all, I don't know that this qualifies as micro. I just call that
that's aggression. That's hate.
No, yeah, it's just straight up hate. That wasn't. It was under his breath as he walked by me. It wasn't straight up like, but it did. That happened, and that's. I mean, I don't know. I've had things like that. It's hard to dress in skinny jeans and nail polish and not ever have something like that happen. But certainly in response to transness, that was the first time that's happened.
Yeah,
that was like last week, I think.
Jeez.
I've been we talked. I've been catcalled, ranging from like totally sweet and really well-meaning all the way to like super gross and lechy. And
but isn't microaggression something though? It's more like, to me, always felt like passive aggressive. Like where someone's like a microaggression if it's like, hey, it's asking a question that you shouldn't be asking. And that's why I get mad with microaggressions, because sometimes me being like, hey, can I touch, like me trying to be kind, and I go, can I touch your hair? And then you go, that's a microaggression. And I go,
and
no,
that's why
I'm sorry.
Here it is. That's why I think that word is problematic.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the most insidious things about what is being referred to as microaggressions is that a lot of times there's actually no aggression, as we understand that word to mean, intended at all.
Yeah.
They're actually, I'd say a lot of them are incredibly innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say stumbling on a pronoun. It's if somebody calls me he and then goes, sorry, she. Totally, like, I don't jump down their throats. I totally get what happened. Like, it doesn't bug me. As long as they're making the attempt to fix it, I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
But technically speaking, that was a microaggression because of the reason that I mentioned earlier of it's just a little reminder to me that I'm not being read the way that I would like to be read.
Yeah.
And, in the case, I mean, I think the broad way to put this, Broadway, is otherness. It's a reminder of otherness. Mm-hmm. So when you, for example, I would argue
I just want to pause you, which to me is such a thing, because when they're really the one lesson I learned in my life is that being the other is the best part of life.
Oh, well, I mean, I agree with you.
It's like being the weirdo, being the freak is what I've always wanted to be, because it means I'm not one of you motherfuckers.
Well, I think that's why you're
doing your own fucking thing. Exactly. That's why we're in show business. Yeah. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're saying about...
No, I mean, I think that's a wonderful point, and frankly, I think that is why I'm just like tying all the different things that we're talking about, but like I think that's why the word gay doesn't just mean I have a penis and I stick it in the butt of somebody else with a penis.
Yeah.
It also means the culture, because they've what the gay community has said is, okay, you've made us other, you've designated us and persecuted us for being other for fucking centuries.
Yeah.
So screw you. Not only is this okay, but also we are enjoying the otherness.
We're gonna build. You put us here. We're gonna build a castle and fucking live here.
Yeah, that's exactly
and it's gonna be a strong. Yeah, no,
yes.
and I love that.
Yes, undoubtedly.
And that's why my thing too. It's like, well, that's why I don't have a problem with gay actually, but in my head I do, because it's like, I know you need that castle. I know people need to have the castle to hide in, because not hide, but
not hide in, but
exactly. The word hide is really shitty.
No,
but I meant a place to stay where the tornadoes won't fucking destroy you. There's community,
it's community.
And there's protection there.
Absolutely.
You know,
and pride. I mean, they fucking literally call it the Pride Parade, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I was bringing up this other... Did I cut you off? Would you have more on that?
No, you're fine.
It's funny. I don't know how to place this, but this is going to sound so horrible. When I look at a dog, you don't know if it's a male or a female unless you flip it over. You know, people don't treat male dog and female dogs any different. I don't know where I'm going with this, but there's this thing that like you love it, and I know I'm not trying to compare people to a dog, and I'm not comparing. I'm just saying in general in life. If we can get to a place where we all treat each other like dogs, where it's like a woman dog growls at you, you go, that dog's gonna bite me. A man dog growls at you, you go, that's gonna bite. Like you treat dogs the same way, and gender really doesn't live in animals. Does that sound crazy?
That is the most backwards argument for and beautiful argument for equality I've ever heard in my life.
No, I don't know what it was, but it just hit me as a thing that I didn't know how to say.
Well, no, but I mean, honestly, again, I appreciate the clumsiness of that statement.
Yeah,
like absolutely.
Please don't compare me to a dog. No, I'm not. I mean, comparing humans, all humans.
Funny. I think the word dog instantly like.
Of course,
only because literally, and I've had this said in conversations with people where it first of all reminds me of the anti-gay politicians being like, what, gays are gonna get married? What next? Like we let people marry dogs? Yeah. Is always the first thing that hops to.
I have a joke with that.
And I've also
yes, fine. If no rape, no rape, no kids. If that's a dog that you are. Because that's the thing. My thing that pisses me off about dogs is like, no, now you're saying he's a rapist. Because if you fuck a dog can't consent. So you're raping a dog, and rape is against the law. If it's a talking dog that you're having a great conversation with, and you can marry that dog. If it's a fucking... I agree. I don't give a shit.
I've never thought about that, but yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sorry. That's always my argument with
it's true.
That.
It's consent.
Yes.
What we're speaking of is consent.
Yes.
That's exactly right. And... yeah. Anyway, but all that is to say, I think that's really what you're speaking of is equality.
Yeah.
In a perfect world that sort of has no history and was in a vacuum in a bubble in its own little utopian place and time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely, that's equality.
Yeah,
the problem is that we have so many factors in the world that
there's
keep
too many
that
people.
from being.
The problem is there's just too many people.
Already too many people.
Yeah, there's just too many people.
I agree with you.
Yeah, we need to just.
Everybody should just like chill on the babies.
Yeah, I got a theory. For 1 year, no one has kids. Just for 1 year. And then you start again in the next year.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll have 1 year. 1987, no one was born. No one is 29 or whatever the fuck age you would be. It's like, that would be great. You have one set of teachers there's no third grade this year.
Oh,
just because,
Just the size of that carbon footprint.
Yes. 1 year. The carbon footprint would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it would be unbelievable. Yeah. Totally.
We should just do that. Instead of making a law, we just say, listen, everyone, for this year, let's not have kids.
Yeah.
For 1 year, you have a kid next year. Or you do it, get it before December 31st.
Yeah, or you want it this year, you adopt it.
You adopt it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my big thing with Republicans. It always bothered me. And I will tell you, to anyone, liberals and Republicans are conservatives and liberals are both equally fucking hypocritical when you go too far to the left or the right.
Agreed.
And my big thing is that, like, all right, you want to have no gay marriage? Okay, well then, you want to have no abortions? Then we'll do no abortion. You can do no abortions, but every kid that happens, you gotta adopt it. You gotta give it to a gay couple. Let gay people take them.
Totally.
It's like, all right, you can't have gay marriage. Well, gay marriage would taking all those kids. Then you can have more gas in your cars and all that shit. It's like, fuck it. There are compromises. Like, liberals bother me too. They're like, well, no guns. It's like, no, we don't like hunting. It's like, well, you're also against GMOs and in fresh farming. So what if we all started hunting again? You'd get fresher food. I don't know. That's all just half-assed bits that I don't. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that's a really nice place to end.
Yeah.
I think we. I thought that. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, great.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm trying to think if there was anything off the top. I don't know. I think what are you. First off, before we go, where can people follow you? All your things, all your rock star shit you're doing.
Well, funnily enough, my web presence is having to transition just as much as my
That's
body
the hardest
is.
part. That's probably the hardest part. To lose those followers is crazy.
I know, right? Well, so like, I have a domain. It's Westfall at .com. But
change your middle name.
There's
no, fuck this. Change your middle name to I don't know, Margaret or Machete, then you could be add Ada M. Oh no, Cochran! You're still getting rid of Cochran.
That's the problem.
Sorry, I thought I was trying to fix the Adam thing.
No, I know. Yeah, it's
a problem. Sorry.
No, but yeah, there's I have a website, but the problem is there's nothing on it yet. But probably the best web presence that I have right now is my Instagram, which is at Ada Westfall. That's ADA. And then West and Fall, all spelled the way you think it is.
Those letters don't identify as different letters.
Yeah, exactly. Those letters they all like to be they, so you know, except for Z, which is clearly Z. But yeah, and then I don't know. It may be, if you don't mind me plugging a thing.
Plug everything.
The theater company I work with. This is going to be like so unrelated to what we've been talking about, but the theater company I work with is called Theater Me Too, which is MITU, and we are doing a very weird and wonderful, beautiful production of Death of a Salesman
nice.
Coming up at Brooklyn Academy of Music in July. And
I love that you think this is going to be out before July. But
well, you know, whatever.
No. Yeah.
But I mean, if not, just cut this shit out. But I live score the whole thing as
awesome.
a one woman band. So I'll you should come see it. It's super.
I got to be honest. I think that I'm definitely going to have you back, because we have to do more. There's so much more we can talk about.
I would love to.
Also, I would love to just, I'm going to have rotating co-hosts. Love to just have you on and we do. I love that you just come back.
Yeah, totally. Anytime. This is super fun.
Yeah, Greg Stone _ is my fucking Twitter. Also, I'm probably going to be putting this down for the Rad Dudecast fans. So I think this is going to be a secret episode for the podcast I already do, the Rad Dudecast.
Oh, cool.
So to all my Rad Dudecast fans out there, this is a big dream of mine. So, check out the name of the podcast is Part of My Ignorance. Should be more episodes coming out soon, but I'm going to give this to the Rad Dudecast fans first. So thank you so much for coming out. This was so great.
This was super
and there was
awesome.
so many things I wanted to say I didn't even get to say just because we're just having a great conversation.
Yeah, but
what
that's
fun.
Nice. There's so much, and we can definitely do more.
Good night. Goodbye.